Hi everyone, and yes, here I'm going to read you a story from Neville's book, The Law and the Promise. Now, for those of you that are struggling with focusing on a loss of some sort, loss of money, loss of a relationship, loss of a job, this will be a good one for you to take the lesson and then apply it to your situation. So it goes like this. A year ago, I took my children to Europe, leaving my furnished apartment in the care of my maid. When we returned a few months later to the United States, I found my maid and all my furniture gone. The apartment superintendent stated that the maid had had my furniture moved by my request. There was nothing I could do at the time, so I took my children and moved into a hotel. Of course, I reported the incident to the police and also brought in private detectives on the case. Both organizations investigated every moving company and every storage warehouse in New York City, but to no avail. There seemed to be absolutely no trace of my furniture nor of my maid. Having exhausted all outside resources, I remembered your teaching and decided I would try using my imagination in this matter. So, while seated in my hotel room, I closed my eyes and imagined myself in my own apartment, sitting in my favorite chair and surrounded by all of my personal furnishings. I looked across the living room at the piano on which I kept pictures of my children. I would continue to stare at my piano until the entire room became vividly real to me. I could see my children's pictures and I actually could feel the upholstery of the chair in which, in my imagination, I sat. The next day, as I came out of my bank, I turned to walk in the direction of my vacant apartment instead of towards my hotel. When I reached the corner, I discovered my mistake and was just about to turn back when my attention was drawn to a very familiar pair of ankles. Yes, the ankles belonged to my maid. I walked up to her and took hold of her arm. She was quite frightened, but I assured her all I wanted from her was my furniture, and I called a taxi and she took me to the place in which her friends had stored my furnishings. In one day, my imagination had found what an entire big city police force and private investigators could not find in weeks. This lady knew of the secret of imagining before she called the police, but imagining in spite of its importance was forgotten, owed to attention being fixed on facts. However, what reason failed to find by force, imagining found without effort. Nothing merely goes on, including the sense of loss. I'm going to say that again because this is the important part of the story. Nothing merely goes on, including the sense of loss, without its imaginal support. By imagining that she was seated in her own chair in her own living room, surrounded by all of her own furnishings, she withdrew the imaginal support she had given to her sense of loss, and by this imaginal change, she recovered her lost furniture and re-established her home. Your imagination is most creative when you imagine things as you desire them to be. Building a new experience out of the dream of fancy, to build such a dream of fancy in her imagination. FG brought to play all of her senses, sight. Oh no, that's the next part of the story. Forget that. So, the next part of another story. So, in terms of withdrawing your imaginal support from your sense of loss, ask yourself, okay, where am I focusing on my loss? What thoughts am I thinking? What is that doing to my feeling place? How is that affecting my mood? So you've got to be focusing on solutions for solutions to come. So ask yourself, with what I've got going on today in X category, love, health, money, work, family, what is it that I am giving my sense of loss to? Where's my focus on the loss? Where's my focus on it not changing? So if this woman can withdraw her imaginal support she had given to her sense of loss, And then by doing this, imagine will change she recovered her lost furniture, then imagine what you could do to reestablish your money, your work, your home, your relationship with your relative or your bodily condition, whatever it is. So see if you can use this as like a cookie cutter and see if you can use what this wonderful woman did and apply it to the current situation you've got going on. Now, if you've got a situation that you'd like to share down below in a few words, this is my situation and this is what I'm doing to remove my attention from my sense of loss in this particular situation, let us know. And if you've already done it, then feel free to share the success down below as well. All right, lots of love, everyone. And I'll be sharing more Neville, as always. And I'm going to do more Florence, more Joseph Murphy, some Catherine Ponder, and some other authors as well as I get a hold of my books as I'm unpacking. Lots of love.